In this video, we will go through an installation and usage guide for Odin Tabs. For now, you can clone it from my GitHub repository. Let's do this. Here you go. Now we'll go to load the extension. I will click on load unpacked, and then I will choose the folder containing Odin Tabs Chrome extension. It needs to be the folder which has all the HTML and JavaScript files. I'll select the folder. And here it is. You can see Odin Tabs. Okay, let's start. As you can see, it says link an LLM. LLM stands for large language model. The thing about Odin Tabs and Odin Wares in general is that they're going to need a foundation model, an appropriate foundation model. In the case of Odin Tabs, that is a large language model, or LLM in short. The code at the moment supports GPT 3.5 Turbo. In future, I might integrate other LLMs as well, but for now, you're going to need an API key for that. So I will pause this video, I will enter my API key, and I'll get back to you after that. Okay, I entered my key. Make sure that you set a usage limit for your key before entering it. And do not use the same key for everything. Create separate keys for separate applications and regularly rotate them. Okay, let's see how this works. I'll click Start. Open my GitHub. As you can see, it did just that. I'll show you some more of this, and we'll talk about it in better depth. Before we go further with this demo, let's discuss how to invoke this. Of course, one way to invoke this would be using the extension button itself, but perhaps a better way would be using shortcuts. In Chrome extension settings, there is a section where you can set shortcuts for your different extensions. Since I already have that tab open, I will just navigate to that tab using the tool itself. Open the tab which I would need for setting a shortcut for an extension. Here you can set the shortcut key combination for invoking your extension. I would suggest you to set it to a key combination which is not reserved. Don't set it to Ctrl-O, because by default Ctrl-O is reserved for some other functionality. Because I disabled the default functionality, I can set it to Ctrl-O, but you don't do this. You just set it to a key combination which is not reserved. Okay, after setting this, then we no longer need to invoke the extension by clicking on the extension button. We can always use the shortcut key combination. This is a great advantage because then we can use this in full screen mode. Let's give this a try. Bring up my GitHub repository for Odin Tabs. Let's play with this a little bit more and navigate through some of the tabs which I had open. Open the documentation for API Gateway. How about AWS Batch? How about Lambda? Bring up the documentation for Google Maps API. Remember there was a dataset which had airline reviews? Bring that one up. Okay, so far we've seen some of the magic, but let's pause here and talk a little bit more about privacy. By now, you might be thinking that, oh, this extension appears to know a lot about my tabs. So let's talk about what it can actually see. It cannot see what you see. So whatever you have here on your page, in your tabs, it cannot see. The only thing that it sees is the title of the tab and the non-query part of the URL of the tab. Those are the same information that your ISP also sees and your VPN service provider also sees. This information is then used by the extension to make a TLS encrypted API call to the LLM service provider of your choice. So it can only see the title of the tab and the non-query part of the URL of the tab. But this doesn't mean that you are limited to that title, or you need to memorize the title or use only keywords from the title. No, you can talk with it as you would talk with anyone else, and it will figure out which one you need. Let's demonstrate this with an example. I'll show you two examples where what you're asking is directly included in the title, followed by two other examples where what you're asking is not included in the title. Let's start. Show me the paper which was synthesizing network traffic data similar to DOS attacks. As you can see, the DOS attack is included right here in the title. Let's try another one. Bring up the one which was detecting chiller faults. Again, as you can see, chiller fault is right in the title. Now let's try something more challenging. Bring up Goodfellow's paper. As you can see, Goodfellow is the name of the author, and this is not included in the title or in the URL, but it still works. Let's try one more. Bring up the paper which I am writing. Bingo! So despite the fact that what it can see is very limited, but its quasi-wisdom is limitless, that's why it can help you with things which it cannot see. Okay, let's talk about something else now. Every time you invoke the extension, it will keep listening until you're done talking. In fact, it will even wait a little bit to make sure that you're actually done talking. One advantage of this is that it enables you to quickly pick through multiple tabs without constantly pressing the shortcut key. Let's see this in action. I will now press the shortcut key to invoke the extension, and then I'll just keep talking afterwards. Open the chart for dollar index futures. Show the chart for Tesla. How about Facebook? How about Apple? How about AMC? GameStop? So far I have shown quite a bit of different use cases, but possibilities are endless. For example, show my emails. Bring up the report that I am writing. Show the slides that I am making. Bring up the Excel document. Bring up the diagram that I am making. I want to continue my online course. So by now, I'm sure you have an idea about the use cases for this, which are not few. Something else to point out here is that these tabs do not necessarily need to be on the same window. For example, open Google Maps. As you can see, Google Maps was open in a new window, which was not even in full screen mode. I pretty much covered everything. One last tip perhaps would be, do not pile up unnecessary tabs. If it's necessary for you and it helps with your productivity, yes, why not? But if it's not necessary, do not waste computational resources.